I am a light bulb with 52 elements. I flicker or I light up and shut down millions of times a second. My color changes significantly depending on which subset of my 52 elements heat up at a given time. I can assume 121 different colors based on which filaments light up. I am a moment of your consciousness or a chitta. My filaments are the 52 different mental factors or Cetasikas that determines my color during the fraction of a second that I last. Chapter 5, Cittas and Cetasikas. I struggled for months to come up with an appropriate analogy to present the learner of Abhidhamma what is Chitta and what is Cetasikas. In this chapter, I will be using the analogy of a light bulb that flickers that has 52 elements to present you Chittas and Cetasikas. Just to refresh what we already learned in a previous chapter, Chittas and Cetasikas are two of the four ultimate realities in our existence. Our mind or the consciousness constitutes a stream of chittas or moments of consciousness that rise, establish themselves, and then ceases to exist. Each of these chittas or moments of consciousness constitute a mix of cetasikas or mental factors that characterize their nature, such as unwholesome, or you could call them bad thoughts, beautiful, or you could call them good thoughts, or resultant chittas, you can call them neutral thoughts, or that are neither good nor bad. Abhidhamma describes 121 types of chittas. Abhidhamma also describes 52 types of Cetasikas. As mentioned before, the subset of 52 Cetasikas that accompany a particular chitta determines the characteristics of that particular chitta. This is somewhat analogous to how color of a paint in a paint can changes based on the different color pigments that were used to develop that paint can. We'll now enumerate or list the 52 types of Cetasikas or mental factors. Let's call them filaments using the analogy that I have used of a flickering light bulbs that give rise to the 121 different types of moments of consciousness or chittas, or you could say the 121 colored bulbs with the analogy that I have chosen here for chitta. I will now start listing the 52 Cetasikas. I'll be doing so using six groups of Cetasikas or mental factors that are present in our moments of consciousness. Remember I said earlier that learning Abhidhamma can be, as mentioned by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, like eating sawdust. One reason for this is because Abhidhamma contains long lists. If someone tries to understand details of all items in these long lists all at once, it becomes extremely dull and boring. So, as opposed to describing all 52 Chetasikas and overwhelm you, in this chapter I will simply list the names of the 52 Chetasikas using six groups. Each of these mental factors, remember, however, has a special function. I will provide details of those special functions when it is necessary in future chapters. Cetasika Group 1, 7 rootless universal Cetasikas. These 7 factors are neither unwholesome or bad, nor beautiful or good. These 7 mental factors appear in every moment of consciousness. That is, they appear in every thought that we incur. Some of them play a dominant role in different chittas. For example, the mental factor volition plays a dominant role in chittas that generate karmic or volitional forces or karma. What are these 7 factors? Contact, feeling, perception, volition, one-pointedness, life faculty, attention. As I mentioned earlier, at appropriate times, I will provide more details on each of these factors. Cetasika Group 1 or the seven rootless universal Cetasikas. These are called rootless because they are neither unwholesome or bad, nor beautiful or good. They are called universal because they exist in all Cittas. They perform the most rudimentary or the basic cognitive or the recognizing function of each moment of consciousness. For example, the mental factor or the Cetasika contact is present in all Chitta and provides those Chittas the ability to mentally touch the object that has appeared. Cetasika group 2 is called the six rootless occasional Chittas. These are initial applications, sustained application, decision, energy, zest, and desire to act. Chetasika group 2 or the six rootless occasional Chetasikas are called rootless because they are neither unwholesome, bad, nor beautiful or good. These are called occasional because they do not exist in all Chittas. Initial application is an example of a rootless Chetasika that is present only on some moments of consciousness. This particular mental factor or the Chetasika plays a key role only when our stream of consciousness initially mentally touches an object. Chetasika group 3 is the four unwholesome or bad universal Chetasikas or mental factors. These four mental factors appear in every bad thought or every unwholesome moment of consciousness. These four are delusion, restlessness, shamelessness, and fearlessness of doing wrong. Chetasika group 4 consists of 10 unwholesome occasional Chetasikas. They are greed, hatred, envy or jealousy, worry, avarice, which is excessive focused greed, wrong view, conceit, which is feeling superior, sloth or laziness, torpor or inactivity, and doubt. Chetasika group 4. 10 unwholesome occasional Chetasikas. These are called unwholesome because they are present in unwholesome or bad moments of consciousness. These are called occasional because they exist in only some of the unwholesome chittas or moments of consciousness. Envy is an example of an unwholesome occasional chetasika that is present in some unwholesome chitta. In simple words, envy or jealousy is a mental factor that is present in some but not all bad chittas. Come to Chetasika group 5, which are beautiful universals or beautiful universal Chetasikas. I have to remind you here what I said before. Do not try to understand fully the meaning of each of these terms at this point. I will be explaining more details on these terms as and when necessary in future chapters. These 19 are faith, shame, fear of doing wrong, non-greed, non-hatred, mindfulness, neutrality of mind, tranquility, lightness, malleability, proficiency, and rectitude of consciousness. Now, I'm going to pause here because I'm using some new English terms. Tranquility is similar to calmness. Malleability is similar to ability to bend or being flexible. Proficiency refers to skill or talent, and rectitude refers to goodness and decency. And the last five or the last 10 factors are the tranquility, lightness, malleability, proficiency, and rectitude of consciousness. Tranquility, lightness, malleability, proficiency, and rectitude of the mental body. Again, in a future chapter, I will explain the distinction between consciousness and mental body. Cetasika Group 5, 19 beautiful universal Cetasikas. These are called beautiful because they are present in beautiful or good moments of consciousness. These are called universal because they exist in all beautiful Cittas or moments of consciousness. Non-greed is an example of a beautiful universal Cetasika that is present in all beautiful Cittas or moments of consciousness. Now we come to the last group of Cetasikas or the Cetasika groups number 6, which are beautiful occasionals. There are three mental factors that contribute to abstaining or avoiding wrong conduct, and they belong to six other beautiful occasionals. These are right speech, right action, right livelihood. Now, please remember the right speech and right action and right livelihood are not necessarily the mental factors, but what this means is when we have right speech or right actions or right livelihood, these three mental factors play a predominant role in our consciousness. Then there are illimitables. They are called illimitables because these are attitude towards living beings that we need to develop without a limit. Karuna is one of the Cetasikas. Mudita is or appreciative joy is another Cetasika. Then we have the last of the 52 Cetasikas, that is non-delusion or wisdom. Cetasika group 6. Six beautiful occasional Cetasikas. These are called beautiful because they are present in beautiful or good moments of consciousness. These are called occasional, they exist in only some of beautiful chittas or moments of consciousness. Compassion is an example of a beautiful occasional Cetasika that is present in some beautiful or good chittas. At the beginning of this chapter, I mentioned that our consciousness are somewhat similar to flickering light bulbs with differing colors, and I mentioned that it could assume 121 different types of chittas based on which of the chetasikas or mental factors are present. Here, in the next two slides, I plan to present three types of chittas or moments of consciousness that occur in our minds. They are unwholesome chittas or bad thoughts, beautiful chittas are good thoughts, and rootless chittas which are neither bad nor good. Here is an example of an unwholesome or a bad thought or a bad moment of consciousness. It contains all seven rootless universal mental factors or chittas, such as contact. It contains some of the rootless occasional, such as sustained application. In this particular case, it will have all four unwholesome or bad universal factors, such as shamelessness, restlessness, and then several occasional unwholesome bad mental factors, such as hatred. This is an example of a beautiful or a good moment of consciousness. It would contain all seven rootless universal chetasikas, several of the six rootless occasionals, all of the 19 beautiful universal chetasikas such as non-hatred, and one or more beautiful occasional chetasikas such as compassion. Finally, this is an example of a resultant chitta or a resultant moment of consciousness. It contains all seven of the universal rootless chetasikas such as contact, feeling, volition, perception, and then one or more of the occasional rootless chetasikas such as initial application. This concludes the chapter of on Cittas and Cetasikas. Again, as I mentioned, all I have done here is provide you very brief details of Cittas and Cetasikas. Details of some of these Cittas and Cetasikas will be provided as needed in future chapters. The end.